Hi and welcome to Programming Percy. Today we will be talking a little bit about how I rebuilt my blog using SvelteKit. And I will also compare this new website that I've built with my old blog, which I have built using Jekyll. So a few months ago a colleague of mine recommended Svelte. He said, "This looks really cool." And at first I thought, oh great, a new JavaScript framework. Just what we need. It's not like there's hundreds of them. I would usually say that I am a backend developer, but I know my way around the front-end frameworks, though I'm not at my prime when doing front-end development. Now, I struggled a few years back to get familiar with React. It was quite a threshold for me, coming from a Java background. And Jekyll was really hard when I first began developing my blog. Jekyll was hard. It took me a long time to get efficient. At first, when he said and talked about Svelte, I really didn't have much interest in it. But over time, as time passed, I heard more and more about it, and then I even saw that it won the Stack Overflow Most Loved Web Framework poll. So my interest peaked a little bit. What's the hype about? So I started reading a little bit about it, and I liked what I read, and it sounded promising. So a very short recap about the features that caught my attention was that the web applications was compiled at build time, allowing them to optimize and make them blazing fast whenever we deploy them. Also, what I saw about Svelte is that it seems really easy to understand, and the syntax is really simple, and the complexity seems really low. So getting into Svelte seemed like an easy approach. So there's no custom syntax, there's simple HTML, JavaScript and CSS which you need to know. So the entry level is really basic web development stuff to get started. What is Svelte? Svelte is a JavaScript framework, and Svelte does not use a virtual DOM, which is one of the big selling points that they really push. As you can see on their website, which I recommend you to visit, you can see a little bit about information about it. There's also a very nice interactive tutorial which you can use to learn Svelte. And so it doesn't use the virtual DOM, and this allows Svelte to become something they call truly reactive, and that this means that we don't have to have like any boilerplate code or hacks to re-render values that updates, for instance. They simply kind of just work. When you update them, they will re-render. You don't need use state in React or use effects or any other hooks to kind of handle this. We can actually go ahead and take a look at Svelte. So the button, so a simple example, and the website I'm showing you now is svelte.dev REPL, and it's a website where you can code and have your Svelte code to try it out, sort of this interactive playground. So each Svelte component is really simple. You have your JavaScript tags, and inside that script tag you put your JavaScript, just as in regular HTML. And then you have your markdown, and then you have your styling. The only thing Svelte related is this here. This is an event listener. I'm telling that whenever we click this button, we should execute the update function. And the update function will increase the variable count by 1. And when we render it, we simply say that the current count is the variable of count. And as you can see, we have a red text here saying current count 0. And it's red because inside of the CSS I've said that each paragraph should have the color red. Now what's cool about Svelte is that this is scoped. If we were to create another component with paragraphs, they would not be red. It would be scoped to this component. And as we can see, whenever we click the button, the values are updated. So it's really simple. And one thing, I'm a Go fanatic, and one thing that really caught my attention when I first started learning Go was that how easy the syntax was and how low boilerplate there was and how easy just getting going was. And Svelte kind of seems to promise the same thing, but for web applications. So another cool thing that Svelte does, which they mention, is that instead of allowing the browsers to do all of the work, all the rendering, all the computation, that's kind of done on the server whenever you build your application. And this allows you to optimize a few things and also making the website really fast, and we'll have a look at this very soon when we compare the Jekyll websites. And whenever you start learning Svelte and look into it, you will hear about something called SvelteKit. So I said that Svelte is the JavaScript framework. Now SvelteKit, which is even linked up here, which we can go to, it will bring you to a new website, and SvelteKit is the framework for building applications. So you use SvelteKit to build an application, and inside SvelteKit you're coding with Svelte. So SvelteKit kind of adds a few features, and one of those features is pre-rendering. And pre-rendering is amazing. Now, simply put, the application is computed at build time, and it will build a static application which is then stored and then served whenever you're visiting the website. So this means that all the heavy lifting, all the computation, everything that needs to be done is already done whenever somebody visits the website. And as we can see in my image here, we have the developer who writes the code. It goes through something called SSG, Static Site Generator, and outputs a static application. And then we host that static application. And this is not the same thing as server rendering. We need to make that clear. Pre-rendering is only available during build time. Server rendering is available at runtime. So instead, in server rendering, you would instead be sending a request to the server, which would render it and then output that. But pre-rendering is done at build time. Now it's amazing whenever you have static websites, such as a blog, where all the contents can be predetermined. At that point, it's really amazing. Now SvelteKit is amazing in the way that it doesn't force you to only use one of the technologies. It's really easy inside SvelteKit to decide if you want to use pre-rendering, server-side rendering, or client-side rendering. So you can mix and match with whatever matches your use case for each component, which is even more nice. So SvelteKit also adds the ability to have routing. Svelte itself does not have routing. You have to use third-party libraries to implement routing in Svelte, but SvelteKit enables us to have a routing system in place, and it's actually really cool because it makes it easy to decide if you want to use the server, and like if you have a page that is to be loaded through the server, you can add a small file called like plus server, and that file would be executed on the server, and you could have like plus page, which would be rendered on the client. It's really easy to decide what goes where. SvelteKit also enables us to have file-based routing, so you structure your code in a file-based directory pattern, and that becomes the pages that we can visit. Very similar to how Jekyll actually does it. Let's begin having a look. And what we're seeing here, let me actually zoom in so you guys can see more. Now, what we're seeing here is my old blog. My old blog was a template I found online. I wanted to get a blog up and running fast, and I found this template which was really nice, and I think it looks kind of good. However, the website was built using something called Jekyll, which was a technology I haven't used before, but basically it's a server-side generator also. But I really disliked it from the start. It was hard to use. So a few things about what I disliked was that it uses Ruby, and I have no interest in Ruby. I know it feels dead, but you don't have to code the blog in Ruby, of course. Yeah, I simply use Markdown, but you still have to rely on the tooling that are available in Ruby, and I've just had a lot of trouble using these gems in Jekyll. I think Jekyll is a gem, but these gems in Ruby, many of them seem to be old, and there were a lot of dependency issues when I tried it, and when I was developing my blog. I have had a really hard time wrapping my head around how to use Jekyll, which is one of the reasons whenever I saw this Svelte to like, okay, should I just rewrite it? Let's do it. And given the fact that I disliked Jekyll, how it worked, how the tooling was used, I thought let's give SvelteKit a go, because I'm more familiar with the tools that are available, such as npm, yarn, vite, and finally I made a decision. I'm going to rewrite my blog with SvelteKit, and here we are. So let's have a look at the old website, the new website, and we will also be comparing the performance of them using Lighthouse. So I'm going to use Lighthouse, and you can reach Lighthouse by pressing F12 inside any Chromium-based browser. If you're using Firefox or so, you can download an plugin to the browser, or you can use PageSpeed Insights, which is a website. I will put a link in the description. And Lighthouse is a tool to measure your website's SEO, performance, accessibility, and best practices. Those are the 4 key points that it will evaluate. SEO is measured by checking how search engines can understand the content of your website, and if the page can be crawled or indexed, and that is also mobile friendly. Performance is a weighted value between multiple metrics related to the speed of the website. We will see more of these metrics as we actually run the tests. We will see accessibility, which is how responsive your website is for multiple different screen sizes. It also checks something called best practices, which basically is the web vitals, and if you were using deprecated technologies and how fast it is, secure it is, etc. So let's visit my old website. This is my old website. It looks like this. It looks fairly okay. Now what we will do is that we will reload the website, and you guys can see that it's loading for pretty long, and there it's done. So it's pretty slow. There's not a lot of content in here. There's basically text and links. And let's go ahead. If we press F12, we can see a tab here, and we can use this tab to click on Lighthouse. Now Lighthouse will enable us to generate a Lighthouse report, and this is what we will be doing. Don't care about the mode for now. The device, I will use a mobile device, because mobile devices are tended to be considered slower. Usually they're slower on a network that is slower, and also mobiles are kind of widely used, or more used than desktops when you're browsing web pages. So I think it's a good standard to kind of consider mobiles first. And we will test the categories that we have discussed, and we can click Analyze Page Load. What it will do is that it will simulate a mobile, visit our website now, and see how it scores my old website. This is my old website, so I have to make that clear. So let's see, it's generating my report, and what do we get? We get a 47 in performance, accessibility 82, best practices 75, SEO 85. So it's not super bad on those 3 categories, but the performance is even rare. It's really bad. So we can go down here and we can see these are the metrics that the performance is based on. So we can see time to interact is really high, 18 seconds. Time to interactive is a metric that is how long load time there is before the website is fully interactive. And that means that if I do something on the website, it can't be longer than 50 milliseconds before it interacts. If it is, it will not be interactive. And if this is your first time seeing Lighthouse, you might be thinking that 18 seconds, that's a lot. And it is. It's really bad. But it's not as bad as you might think. Like if you visit Facebook or anything, you will see that it's pending between like 4 to 6 seconds, which is still high, but yeah. But given how little information there's on my old website, I think 18 seconds it's really bad. So the second metric we see is the total blocking time, which is JavaScript runs on the main thread of the browser and it can block the browser. Basically, if your JavaScript code is working, the website will be blocked with that task. You can't scroll, you can't do anything. And blocking is considered whenever any JavaScript function takes more than 50 milliseconds to run. Everything after 50 milliseconds is considered blocking. So we have 9 seconds of blocking time. Basically that means whenever we visit my website, it will take 9 seconds before we can start scrolling and doing anything. So that's kind of bad. So let's visit the new website, and it looks like this. We can see it's pretty similar. There's a menu, but instead of simply having text, we actually have these postcards which we can navigate to. So let's go ahead and update this website, and as you saw, the load time was, what, did it even load? It was bam. So let's go ahead and do a Lighthouse test for this website. Same thing, same settings. Let's analyze it and let's see what it comes up with. The difference with this website compared to the old website is that I now have images being shown also. We have the 9 latest blog posts being shown with images, so there's a bit more to do on this website. And we can see the score here. The performance is 90, accessibility 96, best practices and CEO. I'm mostly worried about the performance. That's why I rebuilt the website. I thought my website was really slow and I wanted a rebuild. And we can see here the time to interact is 4.3 seconds. It's like 12 seconds faster than the old website. It's wow. The total blocking time is non-existent, basically 160 milliseconds. Lighthouse is nice because it can tell us what's even, like, you have a bit unused JavaScript which you can remove to make it a little bit higher. This JavaScript isn't really unused. It's ads by Google and Google Analytics, and they are really slow. They take a lot of performance from your website. But wow, a 90, it's really fast. The new website built with SvelteKit is really fast. I can't stress that enough. But let's be fair. My users won't be hanging around the main screen. Let's jump into a post, and we can see it's still loading. It's so slow, and now it's done. Takes a few seconds, to be honest. About 8 seconds. It's probably right. And this is how the pages look for my users. And what I do in the old website is I use Jekyll to render markdown sites. So I write markdown blog posts and then I can render them as HTML objects. And I use the same approach in the new website, so it's pretty fun to compare them, because what we see in this blog post, Learning Kubernetes, is exactly the same file being served on both websites. So let's take a look. the performance is 48, and let's see, it takes, the time to interact is 30 seconds, and basically it took 6 seconds before the JavaScript stopped blocking the website. And it's horrible. So let's go to my new website and let's visit the same blog post, and let's go ahead and run Lighthouse at this blog post. Remember, this is the same markdown file being served on both websites now. And let's see, both websites are deployed on GitHub pages right now, so they're actually live. Also, the performance was a little bit lower. It's lower, but it's really fast. The time to interact was 3.9 seconds instead of 30 seconds on the old website, and the blocking time was 780 milliseconds, but 5.8 seconds on the old website. So basically it's 20 seconds faster on the time to interactive, which is insane how big difference there is. It's really insane. The difference is massive. And let's see. Oh yeah, it's just really cool. And everything looks amazing. The performance was increased by 22 points, and that's amazing. And I mean, I think the metrics speaks for themselves. I'm a little bit disappointed about the 68 performance score, to be honest, because all the timestamps are really good, and it's basically complaining about the DOM size, and also that, again, it's complaining about the Google Analytics. So a quick conclusion. Not only did my blog now get super duper much faster, it's much easier to maintain and update than my old Jekyll website, because that was really hard. And in Jekyll I had to search and test super many different plugins to optimize things, and it was really hard getting everything up and running, and these plugins were buggy and stuff. And to be honest, in SvelteKit I have made almost no optimizations. I've gotten this speed boost by using the out-of-the-box features. The speed gain is purely from using SvelteKit instead of the Jekyll, and that's insane. And it feels amazing. I've made one small little extra, and that's adding a Vite plugin, which automatically generates WebP images for me instead of JPEGs and PNGs. I did the same thing in Jekyll, so I thought it'd be fair to do the same thing here to deliver next generation formats. And these images are a lot smaller, so they're faster to load. However, when I was doing this in Jekyll, it took me days to get it running. In SvelteKit, it was up and running in like an hour. And I'll be making a blog post about how to get it up and running in SvelteKit as well very soon. So I was really skeptical when I made the decision to rebuild my website. Many frameworks are saying that we are the next generation framework, but having tried SvelteKit, I mean, it really does feel like the next generation framework. It's amazing. It's super easy to use, and it's super amazing. It seems to do its job really, really well. I'm super amazed. That being said, I have to make sure to mention that SvelteKit is not officially released with a 1.0 version. It's still only a release candidate. But that also means that we can see even more amazing things before SvelteKit is fully released. Now I'm super psyched for using SvelteKit and releasing my new blog, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. And what do you think? Let me know. What do you think about my new website? How does it work for you? Let me know on any of my social media or in the comments below. Thank you, and take care.